welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to be making some resin rivet coasters. Now I'll leave links to all the items that I use down below in the description. Okay, let's get started. So here we have a mould from RJ Creations. Now this one is the custom coaster mould, which you can get 4 coasters. He does lots of different sizes and he'll also do any custom sizes that you do want. I'll leave a link to his Instagram page down below, so if you do anything, please contact him direct. So what you get in the kit, you get the 2 sides, 2 ends, the bottom, an assortment of nuts and bolts in a little packet, and then you get all these little offcuts, which are just the HDPE, which can help to use clamp your pieces down as you go. Now to assemble it, all you need, I've been advised to get this manual 9914 gasket, and then all you do is you just, easy said than done, squeeze a bit out, line it up, one of the bolts in, and then I believe it's a 4mm Allen key. Tighten everything up. Obviously you just want a little tiny bit of squeeze out so you know that it is indeed sealed. And just complete this for the entire mould. So just go ahead now and just let that dry for 24 hours. Gasket seal is all now dried on the mould. So I just took a Stanley knife blade and just cleaned up all this excess squeeze out from the inside. I've cut the wood on the bandsaw. I mean, you can use a jigsaw as well if you wanted to. Makes no difference how you want to cut it. Then next, all we need to do, now there is some discussion on this about if you need to or not, but I always do. So I'm just going to put some sanding sealer. I've got this stuff from Liberon onto the wood piece, and it just helps if you get any spillage from the epoxy on the bleed out on the grain. So we're just going to give this a coat, leave it 20-30 minutes, give it another coat, and then we'll be ready for the epoxy to be poured. Simple as that. So the mould's all ready to go. I don't know how necessary this is again, but I just use a quick spray of a silicone release spray into the mould. Then we're going to place our pieces in the mould. Then we're just going to use these little blocks that came with it, the mould, and then we're going to clamp the pieces of wood down in place, just to stop them rising up. If any resin gets underneath them, they will just rise up. So it's ready to go. You can use whatever type of resin you want to. Make sure you follow the instructions for the mixing of that particular epoxy, because if you don't, it might not set, it might go too hard, all sorts of problems. Make sure you're working in a well ventilated area because of the fumes of the resins. This is a glass cast, so it's volume 2:1. Now I like to use these paint mixing automotive because they have all the gradients on the sides here for all different things. So we found the 2:1, which is here, and then I'm just going to mix the bottom one because I think that should be enough. I always just guess. So this is 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener. I'm also going to put a little bit of mica powder in, just to colour it slightly. Now you only need a tiny amount. This is just, again, a generic one off Amazon. I will put links to everything in the comments. Make sure you mix it very well. So again, if you don't mix it correctly, it will not set at all. So we'll mix that for a couple of minutes now. And then we just pour it into the mould. Don't think I've done anywhere enough, to be honest. Nope, not enough, so I'll do another little mix. Now we just leave that for 10-15 minutes, let all the air bubbles come to the surface, and then we'll just hit it with the blowtorch. Now we'll just leave that for 2-3 days and let it set nice and hard. The epoxy's now been setting for 2 to 3 days, so it should be ready for coming out the mould. So it should just be a case of, you undo the 3 bolts at the ends. Just give this a little tap. And this should hopefully pry up very easily. Just need to get underneath it, which is the hard bit. Just under the edge. Look how easy that just popped out. So the beauty about this mould is, all we need to do now is clean this up, as simple as this, with your fingers. We can put some more of the gasket on, seal it back up, and it's ready to go again straight away. So now we need to clean up the piece. You could quickly run this through the planer's thicknesser if you wanted to. Mine unfortunately is currently broken. So I'm just going to do it with the sander. So we're going to go through 120, 180, 240, 320, 500, 600, 800 and 1000. Again, trend anti-slip mat for holding the workplace in peace. Don't forget your ear defenders and also an extractor. One thing that is quite important in between every grit when you're working with resin is you need to clean it with an isopropyl alcohol. That's just to ensure that any bits of grit have gone off the surface so you don't constantly scratch it again. So this has now been sanded to P1000. I left it as a whole piece just because it's easier to sand a bigger piece than it is a smaller piece. Now we're going to trim it to size to get the 4 coasters out of this one piece, and then I'll sand all the sides. So I've now got the coasters all cut to size. Even though the mould's slightly oversized, it's designed to make 4 coasters 100 by 100. So I've cleaned up all the edges, and because it's been finished to such a fine grit, sanding all over, I'm just going to use some Butcher's Block Oil to put the finish on these. Now this will get 2 coats of these in total. As you can see, it's got quite a nice finish to it. So I'll just get all these other ones finished up and then we'll leave them dry, and then we shall do another coat. As always, I will leave links to the descriptions and the website for the mould down below in the description. If you have any other tricks or tips, things you think I should have done differently on this project, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Could do better, you know, or any other tricks or tips. I haven't done a lot of resin work, so